I mean, okay, do we want to go here? I guess
No.
you know what we'll spend a little time on it, okay? But that's why I'm kind of on the heated side. Is that I just like you said, have the informed vote, and I am not informed enough because I have not made myself informed enough, which is my fault. But if I go out and just willy nilly vote against something that I have no idea what I'm voting for, I believe that's irresponsible.
Yeah.
And so I kind of get into it with obviously my wife and other people who feel that you should just vote because you have the right to. But anyway.
No, you know what? I think so. Here's the thing also. The entire duty of that was not supposed to fall onto the citizen, but part of that duty to inform the voter was to fall on the media, and that hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the First Amendment exists is so the press can inform the public, and they're usurping their duty as much as people are usurping their duty as well. So there's problems in our system all over, and to me, it's not something you can mandate by law. That's just something that a person has to hold dear and agree to, that they're going to commit themselves to this experiment civilly and really put themselves into it. And of course I get on my horse and I see it as a duty and all this stuff because I'm so enamored by our system as it was intended. The founders, as they set it up, they weren't perfect men. No man is perfect. That's part of the reason they created that government the way they did. But it was supposed to allow us all to our own little spheres of liberty so that we could live in harmony right next to one another, no matter how many different people you had living next to one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, to me, it's like I fawn over it. I'm a fanboy of it. So, I kind of hold it in a reverence that I don't think a lot of people do or just realize about it. But it's just, I see it. And I get our system is very, not a lot of people want to get involved in it because right now it's like cleaning out a bilge. It's just dirty.
Yeah. But you're on if you're listening to this right now, you're on the beginning stage of President Pierce. So I firmly believe that, you have what it takes to make changes, and I'm excited to watch the process, and I'm thrilled to have ever met you and gotten to know you. And so, not to sit on your lap too long, but yeah, I think that a lot of people can learn a lot from you by just kind of really following with an unbiased mind, because people, and I think that's a big thing, people walk into a lot of things with biases, and they don't want to open their ears. And kind of going back to when you were talking about going to see somebody about your anger management, you had to go into that with an unbiased mindset, with that this may work, it may not work, but I'm going to give it a shot. And so I do appreciate that. And that kind of goes back into what we started this off with, was marijuana, right? Weed.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get off on a tangent.
So
marijuana.
Yeah, man. How did that help you, or how did it not help you?
No, it helps me. No, I'm not going to lie, it didn't. You know what? I smoked a few times in high school, no doubt. I was pretty good about it when I was in the Navy, but I knew guys who used while they were in, and some guys popped and some guys didn't. But I pretty much avoided it while I was in. I kind of in a cheesy way, I take oaths and things seriously.
Yeah.
So, it was part of the duty. You don't do it while you're in. And it was still illegal. I'm not a teetotaler by any means, obviously, but it's just, I did have a real problem with it because it was prohibited, using it and having it around. Not that I had a problem with people using it or felt icky about it or anything like that. I just was I didn't want to get in trouble legally. I didn't feel it was a morally bad thing that was doing. I felt that it was fine for someone to use it because I've personally seen the effects, and I've also seen people on it. It's not any more dangerous than alcohol, even if it's no even if there's no beneficial use to the thing whatsoever, it's not as dangerous as alcohol. So I don't see the reason for a prohibition to put people in prison for 5 to 10 years for it.
Yeah.
But pivoting off of that, how is it beneficial? I think in every way. And I think now that we're going to be able to start studying this in a scientific way, they're going to be able to prove it with studies that, hey, this drug helps with anxiety. It helps with inflammation of the joints, so I started using it initially for pain. I mean, I had, like I said, I broke my leg kind of in a freak accident right before I got out. And I still have a bunch of pins in there, and it still gives me a lot of chronic pain. Well, I didn't want to, I have a problem with taking aspirin, repeatedly, or those kind of drugs repeatedly throughout the day. And of course, when you read studies on them, they give you ulcers, or they'll mess up your stomach. That's why you can't take more than one every day. You're not supposed to continually take pain medicines habitually. They're bad for you.
Yeah.
Except when you look at marijuana, when you look at long-term studies, and don't think that these aren't out there. Marijuana recreationally has been legal in Amsterdam for over 20-something years. Mm-hmm. The one thing those Scandinavian people do better than anything is keep records of their people. From the minute a person is born in those countries to the minute they die, extensive records are kept on them for medical reasons, and it's just this trove of data. Well, they've been able to study the effects of marijuana smoke for over 20 years. That's a fantastic amount of data. Yeah. So to say, people get into arguments to say it's harmful, and nothing, those have already been settled. And what they show is if you smoke marijuana exclusively, even if you smoke it, and you can take it in 100 different forms, we're finding out now, if you smoke it exclusively and smoke nothing else, there were no traces that it caused lung cancer. Mm-hmm. It's not smoking that causes lung cancer. It's
the tar and the other chemicals inside.
Not only that, and that's probably not proven 100%, but their studies show that that's likely the case. When they looked at exclusively marijuana smokers and exclusively tobacco smokers, the data was in complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But now you see that it's helping people with cerebral palsy, helping people with epilepsy. It's not even the part of the plant that's helping those people isn't even the psychoactive part of the plant.
It's the THC, right?
Or the CBDs or the other. I had someone break code. Okay, so I learned. I was representing my first job out of law school. I worked at a general civil litigation office, and one of our clients was a medical marijuana farmer in New Mexico, and it was an interesting case because they had some people who came in through their board. They had to have this board set up by state law, and they had to have advisory positions on the board. They had these people come in on these advisory positions, basically petition. They finally got onto this board, and then they tried this hostile takeover of the license. So we were representing the original license holders and against this legal action, and the grower basically sat in my office and gave me this education about marijuana, in the typical marijuana plant, no special strain or anything they do nowadays. There is 27 or 28 different active cannabinoids that each one of them has a different medicinal use. And it's so the CBD compound will help with inflammation and joint pain. There's one that helps with appetite and nausea. That's why they give them to cancer patients, because not only does it help with the pain, helps with the nausea from chemo, and gives them an appetite, so they eat.
Science is incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
If we didn't have a prohibition on it in this country, scientists could have found this out 25 years ago. And it's not as harmful as alcohol, so there's no reason to keep putting people in prison for it. Whether or not we want to let people use it, that's a different question. But now we're kind of, our little democratic experiment, our little laboratories of democracy are pushing back and saying, you know what, we're not going to keep doing this. But so we keep getting off in the weeds. How does it help me? Pain relief. Also, the strands that I smoke that I use actually help with focus and creativity. Like they actually stimulate my cognitive abilities. So I've actually used it while studying and writing.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, like you said, science, now they are basically cultivating this so you get the exact effect you're looking for. If you want a strain of marijuana that doesn't get you what you think of as high, like if you'd smoke weed, but just takes care of your pain, you can get that.
Yeah.
You can get the oils where you'll never feel like you smoked a joint like you're thinking. Yeah, if someone's never used it, I'm talking to like people who've never used it.
Yeah.
You know, if you've smoked a joint and you're thinking, oh, I get high like that, they have marijuana out there that will not do that to you, but has all the other beneficial medical effects. And so I use it for joint pain because of that. I have early onset arthritis. It's just a genetic thing. So my knees and ankles, and then of course my break on that stuff. And then I use it to perform what I do better.
No, I get it. I get that, and you're right, because my wife's mom had MS, so multiple sclerosis. So I saw how it aided her, and a good friend of mine, he's got cerebral palsy. You mentioned that, and I see how it aids him. And me, when I got out, I had my fun that first 6 weeks, 3 months, whatnot. I was like, all in, let's go party. And then I got into work mode and, cleaned up, went to work and got a job and kind of cleaned up that act. But I found that when I got more stressed near the end of my career with this aerospace industry, I started finding myself smoking more and looking forward to it. And it's not, I don't want to say I was getting addicted at all, but I was looking forward to it. And I guess my thing would be for me, not for everybody else. For me, I knew that it's all about moderation, because I get into these bouts where I just, in order to cope with other people's bullshit, all day, and then have to go in and be happy. My wife. I guess the small story is that one day, one of the Christmases, I go and open a present, and there's this Tupperware full of some weed that she had bought off her cousin, and it's her way of telling me, "Hey, you got to calm the fuck down. You're too high strung. You're all over the place. You're letting people get to you," so at those moments when it all builds up, she's right. And then, when I smoke or eat an edible, I'm a much happier person. But this is what happened to me, and I'll tell you kind of the turn. I saw that I was happier when I was smoking, and I was more relaxed and loose, and I that affected me. What affected me was that I wanted to be happy without it, and I wanted to. Now, with the pain and stuff, I've got arthritis in my knees. I do want to partake in it all the time. I do. But I know that I want to find a way to be whole without it. And that's where I'm kind of battling. But again, that's me. And I know that I just know I just know me. I know me. And I guess, for anybody who goes out there, veterans too, I know when I was looking forward to getting out, I was like, I just want to smoke. But, cause I smoked according to my recruiter, I never smoked weed, but I had fun before boot camp. And I wanted to do the same when I got out, and I did have fun. I had fun. And then, when go time was go time, the professionalism came. I'm taking over as in it's my interview, but, but I get
where you said we're having a discussion.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I do feel sometimes that when I'm sitting here after I'd smoked, I can get a lot done. I'm always organizing some shit, but I have some of the best ideas to move forward with. A lot of the ideas that I've moved forward with now, I think the book came from a moment. And I guess if you're listening to this, I am the transitional book, How to Grow a Beard, that I wrote was a product of me sitting down one day and saying, I should write a book, and it happened, and here we are today. So there are tons of benefits, and you're absolutely